number 39, live for lock right here on Awesemo.com. I am Jason Floyd. We are sponsored by PrizePicks. We'll tell you about some PrizePicks plays later on in the show because I was over on that platform this morning. And yeah, there are some prop bets over there that definitely stuck out to me. Of course, on Thursday's strategy show, we talked about 10 fights, and I guess I gave the kiss of death saying that we wouldn't have a fight canceled. Well, we had a fight canceled. Dern Win pulls out, and the OG, James Krause, says, screw it, I'll fight. And Phil Hall says, no. I mean, and I sent Pete a tweet last night for Eric Nixick, the head coach of Extreme Couture, basically saying, I just feel like I'm going to be on the road, and all of a sudden James Krause is just going to say, hey, can you corner me against Glover Teixeira?
Yeah, right. James Krause. I mean, it was just a crazy turn of events. You have, Chris Curtis looking to hop in there as well. And I was hoping for that fight to happen between him and Phil Hawes. But, you have James Krause. He's just such a legend, right? Like, he's so game to step in there. And that's what you want. The UFC loves him. And, he's bringing in high quality, what we'll say prospects into the sport. And in addition to that, when he's supposed to corner, he's like, hell, I'll fight on the same card. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does not matter to him. Yeah, Chris Curtis, the guy who's been trying to get in the UFC for some time. He actually had a fight scheduled coming up. So obviously now it looks like he'll get a fight here in the UFC. We'll see what happens with that one. Of course, we're here for the next hour to break down UFC Vegas number 39. Of course, if you have any questions, be sure to line those up, whether it's in our premium Slack channel, also right here on YouTube. We'll get to those as we do go on. But, Pete, I guess we just got to kind of start with this. 9 fights. Obviously, we always talk about this. When you get under 10 fights, this is when stacking becomes has to become a thought process. And as I was looking at this fight card, I mean, look, everyone naturally is going to look at the main event. No question about it. You get the price point, very favorable there. But to me, when I'm looking at stacking fights in this card, I got to start looking at, okay, let me scratch out the fights that I think are not going the distance. That's going for me. The very first fight, Garcia and Ontiveros, scratch that out one for me in terms of stacking. I do not want to stack Romanov Vandera. Don't think that fight even hits the third round. I know you're hoping that fight hits the second round. But then when it comes to all the other fights in this card, I think they're all up. Like, I look at the female matchups of Mazo and Agapova, Godinez and Gomez Juarez. Like, to me, I think those fights have high probabilities of going 15 minutes. Those are the 2 fights I really found myself looking at stacking. I'm not a stacking person. I'm not stacking any of my lineups. But I think when you're talking about multi-entries, you're playing 20 max, 150 max, it's got to be a part of your thought process.
Yeah, 100%, right? Like, with such a low amount of fights, we have to, basically entertain the option of stacking or having a losing fighter a part of our lineups. So, I went in there on Fantasy Cruncher at Awesemo.com and I started to manipulate some things. I really like Romanov this week. I don't see how you, if you want to get away from him, that's definitely a way to get different. You just need to hope that he gasses and doesn't really get a finish. That Vandera is very tough and that he basically doesn't come through at his salary. But I'll tell you, the 9,000 options aren't the best this week in comparison to other weeks. So I think that he's a chalky play that I'm okay with getting to. Outside of that, I went in there and I wanted to make sure I included, the option of stacking certain fights or having a losing fighter a part of my lineups. It's just how it is, right? This is an ugly slate. There's no way around it. If this is your first time playing MMA DFS, this is generally not how it is. There are tons of, cancellations and stuff, but this is just somewhat of a nightmare of a slate. So be very careful with what you're playing today because it's going to be Chop City. You're going to be splitting with a ton of people and you may not make your entries back if you don't allow yourself to get different. Yeah. Like if you have the chalky lineups and they come through, you could still end up being, negative on the night because of how many people are going to have those lineups. You already know the people that are looking to spend all their salary. So I'm not saying scratch those lineups out, but, temper expectations and try to temper your exposure to such lineups. I wanted to make a rule where I left salary on the table. I think you have to do it this week. So, like I said, be very careful, but it should still be a profitable week. And I don't know, why you would want to get away from the main event when they're both priced at $8,200 and $8,000 respectively for a card like this.
Yeah, to me, you can't get away from the main event. I will tell you this. I will be over the field when it comes to what we're seeing ownership-wise on Marina Rodriguez. I'll probably be right around the field in terms of Mackenzie Dern. I think that one of the things I've seen just, looking on MMA Twitter, I think a lot of people are just so convinced that Mackenzie Dern's going to get this fight to the ground. You broke this down on Thursday of how she's going to how she can get the fight to the ground. To me, I just think that she's going to have to eat some shots coming in to close that distance, to look for that single leg going to the ground. Of course, we got to mention Jared Gooden misses weight by 3 pounds yesterday. Randy Brown, not very happy about it. He thought the fine should have been more than 20%. I completely agree with him. We're not talking about you miss weight by 1 pound. You miss weight by 3 pounds. That should have been a higher percentage. If I was in Randy Brown's management, I would have requested that Jared Gooden has to weigh in at a certain weight today. If you say that, hey, Randy's going to walk in at 185, hey, you can't be more than 185 pounds. I understand the frustration that Randy Brown there has. We have someone who signs a contract that says they're going to make 171 pounds, and they don't make 171 pounds.
Yeah, I've been there before, and it pissed me off when my opponent missed weight. It really did. And that's up to your management to kind of somewhat win it back for you in a way, whereas get some sort of compensation by getting a larger percentage, or basically making sure that your opponent doesn't come in a certain weight or above. And I think that that's something that's up to the management, and they need to enforce that. But at the same time, you had Randy Brown make a good point. He's like, Gooden doesn't make that much money to begin with. It's only his 3rd fight in the UFC or 4th fight in the UFC. It's not like he's making a ton of money. So he's losing a percentage of it, but to me, I'm not really getting a lot of money. And now I'm fighting a guy who's going to have a weight advantage. It's just a tricky scenario. I do think that they should punish fighters more for missing weight, and maybe some fighters would start to really second guess it. They're okay with eating the 10, 15, 20% if they can basically, secure a win in the UFC. I think, this whole card is interesting. And, you talk about weigh-ins. A lot of people saying Charlie Ontiveros looked great on the scale. Yeah, he did. I was like, damn, he does look good. He's in great shape. He looks big for the weight class. He made weight, looked like he made it fine. The thing with Charlie Ontiveros is this is like, don't judge a book by its cover, because if you look at him, he's going to look like Superman. And then when he gets hit with a shot or hit to the body, we've seen it countless times where he crumbles. So just be careful, right? Like for me, I'm not really buying into the Charlie Ontiveros dropping down a weight class. I think his kicks and his punches and everything, I think it's tricky. It's dynamic. He could definitely score a flash knockout, but I've seen him quit more times than not, especially on the regional scene and, even in Bellator on the same card. For me, I'm not really buying into it. And I think like a weigh-ins like that can really start to sway the public, where they look at Steve Garcia, look a little flat, and he's like, yeah, he looked okay. Ontiveros looked like shredded. And, you could have some people start to really go Ontiveros's direction. And I think it could be a trap.
Yeah, when you're talking about Steve Garcia at one time, a 35er, couldn't make 35, had issues at 45, now at 55. Ontiveros, who has been a welterweight, made his UFC debut on short notice at middleweight, now here at lightweight, something to consider there. And you talk about looking jacked on the scale. Deontay Wilder yesterday. Woo! Homeboy has been in the gym lifting some weights.
I love how Deontay Wilder said something about bench pressing. Like that's supposed to make him punch better or fight better. Like it doesn't weightlifting and all that stuff translates more into MMA than I would say boxing. It definitely helps, but the grappling aspect is where a lot of weight training, comes into play. Punching, really not so much. You'll end up getting a little tight. So I think he could even gas out worse than before. So I think Tyson Fury is just going to dance around him.
Yeah, we both know who the better boxer is now.
Yeah,
that right hand power.
Exactly.
That is a game changer. Of course, appreciate everyone here on a Saturday afternoon. Be sure to smash that like button right here on YouTube. If you're not subscribed to Awesemo, why not? We've got a ton of great programming for you each and every day. Of course, we got NFL on the contrary coming up here after us at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. Also, we got you some NFL coverage, NASCAR coverage. So keep it locked here at Awesemo. And of course, be sure to hit that notification bell so you know a show is live here on the channel. Of course, if you're not an Awesemo Plus member, you want to get a peek about what's behind the paywall. Today's free premium data and tools is Week 5 NFL projections, MLB player rankings, and UFC pro play. So be sure to check out those free premium data tools over at Awesemo.com. We'll tell you about a promo we have for Awesemo Plus here later on in the show. Of course, I think we kind of, roster construction, I think we kind of really broke that one down with you. Romanov to me is very much a core play. I think Garcia is a core play for me. Sabino Mazo, I would also label as a core play for me. You got to get to the main event. I mean, anyone else in your core plays I didn't list?
So for me, I really like Romanov. I think I have almost all my lineups with Romanov just because I think his ceiling is the best on the slate. I think there are some sneaky spots. I like to get to one of these fighters in each of my lineups between Marina Rodriguez, Mackenzie Dern, and Steve Garcia. I think that having that option of a group, I think makes a lot of sense for, certain combinations. And I think that, outside of that, we have some sneaky fighters in certain spots. Jared Gooden's probably going to be the chalky underdog that everybody's going to target. He missed weight, could have a wrestling advantage if it goes there. He has a nice, powerful right hand that he could definitely land and hurt Randy Brown. We've seen Randy Brown get hurt at times. I think, outside of that, I think Felipe Colares and Jared Gooden are probably going to be the two underdogs that are the most popular. And I can't blame him. I guess Felipe Colares because of his grappling upside against Chris Gutierrez, but man, the leg kicks and the distance control and the range of Chris Gutierrez is giving me slight hesitation of rostering more Colares than I think the public.
So, of course, we're here to answer your questions. So, Pete, let's get right into the questions. Of course, you got any questions, hit those up in our premium Slack channel. Also, right here on YouTube. We'll swing over to YouTube here first. And let's go first up from Hockey Freak Sean says, who's the dog everyone's going to be on tonight?
Yeah, it's Jared Gooden.
I think it's Gooden. I think people are going to take some shots on Ontiveros. I don't want to get there. I think he and this is more about an ownership play, is Marina Rodriguez. That's at least for me.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like a lot of people are disrespecting Marina Rodriguez's talent and ability within this fight. If she stuffs takedowns, she can win this fight. She's fought fighters that have a similar style, not the same jiu-jitsu pedigree, but similar style. I mean, Amanda Hebos, excellent grappler, excellent all around. And you saw what happened in that matchup. I think that her salary is really not enough. Her ownership is not enough given her salary. Charles Rosa might be Charles Rosa and Tim Elliott, from people that aren't really in the know. I think they could just blindly take Tim Elliott and Charles Rosa based on the fantasy points per fight in the box score. And Tim Elliott's pace makes a ton of sense. I view Tim Elliott as the best guy on this slate in a loss to score the best, given his takedown upside.
Of course, YouTube chat's a little screw with me here, but let's try to get some other questions. Elliott or Rosa? I'd rather go to Tim Elliott than Charles Rosa.
I mean, I think that Damon Jackson's pretty sneaky today. And the reason I think he's sneaky is because of, the wrestling. If he can just maintain top position, avoid submission attempts from Charles Rosa, given he's pretty volatile, given, his fight's not going the distance. So he tends to finish people or get finished. But I think that he could basically lay out a smarter game plan and win rounds against Charles Rosa. I mean, the blueprint's there. We've seen Bryce Mitchell do it. We've seen Derek Minner do it. I think that, I think he definitely has the skills to somewhat replicate that. And his price point at 8,400, Damon Jackson, I think he's going to be somewhat overlooked in that range. So, yeah, good. Circling back to your question, Elliott or Rosa, I think I would agree with you and say that I'd rather take a shot on Tim Elliott.
Mitch, this comment we got over there on YouTube talking about the fact that this is a tough week to find good, cheap salary fighters. And I totally agree with that.
Yeah, this week's tough, man. This week's ugly as hell. It is ugly, but we're here to make money. We're trying to make the best of it, and we're all in this together. So if you want to be extremely contrarian, and I had a question come to me on Twitter saying, on FanDuel, do I put Romanov, Mackenzie Dern, or Steve Garcia in the MVP spot? And it's like, well, if you want to get different, you don't put any of those in your MVP spot. If you want me to be honest, like you need to get away from that chalky, kind of avenue. And I think that this week, the cheap options on both platforms, they're ugly, but rostering more than two of them is a way to get different.
That was something I mentioned over in our Slack channel earlier this morning in the office hours. I said, like, look, Romanov is going to be the chalk MVP. So if you want to get away from the chalk, I mentioned two fighters to look at: Randy Brown, Sabina Mazo.
I probably look in the Mazo direction. I'm nervous about the Randy Brown fight. I really am, and I love Randy Brown. I love his boxing fundamentals. I love his striking. I love his submission chops. I'm nervous because I thought Jared Gooden's previous opponent, Stolze, I thought he looked great in his debut. I thought he was going to, just handle Jared Gooden. And Gooden looked like a man possessed out there, landing powerful shots, put him away. That big shot lands on Randy Brown. I don't know how he can take that shot. I would hope he could fight through that and be okay, but I'm a little nervous.
Corey, I appreciate you here in the super chat. He goes, what's your thoughts now on Juarez now since you have her price on DraftKings? Of course, 7,600 over on DraftKings.
Yeah, you said it, best to me. You said, it looks like I'll be getting to more Juarez than a lot of underdogs, and it makes a ton of sense. Just the way that the lineup construction is. I view that fight as like a 60-40 fight where it could go either way. I think that Godinez didn't really look the best in her debut against somewhat of a washed veteran. I think that Juarez having a full training camp is definitely, it's good. She was training for a Contender Series fight. It's not like she's stepping up on short notice and just kind of, pull a miracle right here, come through without a training camp. She's been training hard. I think the striking's even. I'm a little nervous about the takedown threat of Godinez and if Godinez can, stay on top and all that stuff. But on the feet, I feel like this can go back and forth. So I like her. With all that being said, I like her at 7,600.
Of course, we only get access to those ownership projections we have over at Awesemo.com. You got to sign up for an Awesemo Plus weekly pass. You can get that for $29.95. And if you're a new user of Awesemo Plus Platinum, you got to take advantage of the promo we got going on during this show. We use the promo code MMA Live Before Lock, all caps, one word, MMA Live Before Lock, for 25% off your first week of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Now, of course, if you just want a Awesemo Plus MMA weekly pass, you can get that for $8.95. Stop guessing, start winning. Join Awesemo Plus today. Of course, one of those great tools I love to use over Awesemo Plus, that top fighter tool to help you there, that top 6%, the percentage of getting over 100 points. So be sure to check that out over there. Those ownership projections can really help you out in terms of developing your lineups here today. Let's mention some other questions. We got another super chat coming in. It says, on DraftKings, what's your take on pairing Dern and Rodriguez on a small slate?
Yeah, I like it. I think it's the easiest way to go about it. I think it's the chalkiest way to go about it, which is okay, especially if that fight reaches the championship rounds. I feel like you're kind of putting yourself in a good position to come through, or at least min cash and climb the ladder as each round progresses. It's the salary that makes a ton of sense. The salary plus the 5-round potential, and you have a grappler who might struggle in certain areas, and then we could have elevated strike totals. I like it. I have plenty of lineups today where I'm pairing Dern and Rodriguez, despite my love for Mackenzie Dern today.
Of course, let me mention a question we got from Blackbird over in Slack. He says, FanDuel cash, Dern and Ontiveros or Brown and Colares. I would prefer to go the Felipe Colares, Randy Brown side of that equation.
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, I've seen this story with Charlie Ontiveros before, and I know that it seems like a big gap in size. And, if Steve Garcia had been fighting at lightweight this whole time, I wouldn't view it so. This is such a strange fight. So, like, I'm nervous because he's a traditional bantamweight who has fought at featherweight as well. Now he's fighting at lightweight against a guy who's bounced between, welterweight and up. I'm nervous from the size aspect, but I'm not nervous when it comes to the toughness. The toughness of Steve Garcia, I think, can shine through. And I think that he can make Ontiveros crumble. So I don't really like getting too much Ontiveros today.
Next question we got here saying, who is the better cheap play, Jared Gooden or Gomez Juarez? I would say in terms of a GPP, it's Gooden because of the likelihood of a finish, but I think in cash, I'd rather go to Juarez route.
Agree. I would agree with you. I think that, with Gooden, you could get single digit points or you could have a boom performance. And that's kind of like where I made a rule where I wanted to get to one of those in my GPP. Whereas Juarez, I feel like that fight probably goes the distance more often than not. And there could be, points accumulated, but she could just have a lackluster decision loss. So I would say Gooden in the GPP.
I'll mention it because, people in the chat are talking about Dern and the potential of takedown. Talk to a little about what you mentioned about Thursday of how you see her getting the takedown in this fight.
Yeah. So, she's attempted takedowns in untraditional ways. Inside trip is a nice takedown if she can get the clinch. I think that going a traditional double leg is not really the route for her, especially with Marina Rodriguez's improving takedown defense. She has lacked it at times, but I think that a head outside single is a tricky takedown to defend. And it looked like Mackenzie Dern has, attempted that and done that pretty well. She almost had Amanda Hebos. She had Amanda Hebos down with it, and Hebos, popped back up to her feet. And I have seen her succeed with that takedown. That's kind of what I'm picturing. I'm seeing that head outside single, and that's going to be her way to get her down. Now it's going to be Mackenzie Dern. Her objective to keep her down and work towards a submission or some ground and pound. But man, I'll tell you, on FanDuel, Marina Rodriguez is interesting. Yeah, I think that disrespect is a little crazy. She can defend takedowns and she can punish on the feet. So FanDuel, I would definitely boost my exposure to Marina Rodriguez. Like I called her a platform play on Thursday, and I stand by that.
Of course, speaking of FanDuel, got a question about some cheap plays over on FanDuel. So, so if we're talking, $14 and under, we're kind of mentioning here, Jared Gooden, we've kind of talked about him, $12. That's kind of an interesting play. Tim Elliott, $13. It could have to stop some takedowns in that matchup. And you always talk about his fighting style, his pace of fight. He's a very active fighter, so he's kind of interesting. I really don't want to get to Agapova. It's the warning signs that are there. The gym hopping around, getting kicked out of ATT, the issues outside of fighting. To me, that's concern. Kalaris at $10. I think that fight's going to go 15 minutes. So I think that's a nice little cheap play there. Don't want to get to Jared Vanderaa at $8. Charles Rosa, he's at 14. Of course, what concerns you about Charles Rosa is he just likes to play off his back way too much, and that's just not going to lead to scoring points there. Then you got Gomez Juarez. She's $11. Ontiveros at $9. I wouldn't mind getting a Gomez Juarez in that situation just because, once again, I think it's a fight that's going to go 15 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. So, when I hear those salaries, the ones that stick out to me of how it seems just so cheap. Tim Elliott's so cheap that even in a loss, right, I feel like he could possibly come through because his pace is crazy. Kalares, same thing because of the takedown threat and the likelihood that does reach the third round. They seem pretty cheap over on that platform. And I think that I don't think Kalares will have to defend any takedowns, from Gutierrez, but Elliott against Nicolau. I think Nicolau's going to, press him and push him in all areas of the game. So you could have offensive takedowns and defended takedowns from Tim Elliott. So he just seems too cheap to me. The Agapova call, right? She seems volatile given the fact that she really dropped the biggest favorite line in history against Shayna Dobson. Because she went out there and just, went balls to the wall for one round and then had a significant drop off in her cardio and then just kind of fell short and then got, just mollywopped by Shayna Dobson. I think that pace, if she brings that same approach, that 1.5 round of crazy pace could be enough in a loss to come through. I mean, she goes crazy like that against Sabina Mazo. I think the better fighter is going to start to shine through over the course of 15, and that is definitely Sabina Mazo. So you have to somewhat think about how fights can go and how crazy they are and how points can just start accruing pretty quickly. And that's why the Tim Elliott I like over on FanDuel and even on DraftKings, he just seems a little too cheap.
We got asked about the MVP over on FanDuel of what we like the most. I mean, look, Romanov, You love him in that spot, but he's going to be chalky. Dern, she's going to be chalky. I think you got to look at, if you think Marina Rodriguez is going to win, man, her over at FanDuel MVP is a very interesting play because Dern's going to have to try to get this fight to the ground. I mean, it's a classic grappler versus striker. The huge advantage on the ground for Mackenzie Dern, huge advantage on the feet for Marina Rodriguez. So I don't mind potentially maybe you would get really different going to Marina Rodriguez as an MVP over there. I mentioned about Mazo. I mentioned about Brown as well. Garcia is going to be someone that people are going to turn to. I mean, when you're looking to get different from the field, to me, it's get away from Romanov, get away from Garcia, get away from Dern in that MVP spot.
Yeah. And keywords in that MVP spot. I don't think that we need to get away from them totally. I agree with you. It's just being selective with the positioning of those players. I mean, if you really think about what Marina Rodriguez has done in the UFC, it's quite impressive. The draw to Reyna Marcos, I mean, Reyna's been very tough at certain times. Jessica Aguilar got a win. Tisha Torres, I think that win is pretty impressive because Tisha Torres, in my mind, beats majority of the people within the division. Draw to Cynthia Calvillo, okay. Lost to Carla Esparza, split decision. I think Carla's super, super tough and brings possibly the biggest takedown threat in the entire division. The win over Amanda Hebos is excellent, and the win over Michelle Watterson. So she has the more notable names, whereas if you look at Mackenzie Dern's, resume to this point, as she has some good wins, but it's not really the same level, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Ashley Yoder, Amanda Cooper, lost decision Amanda Hebos, win over Hannah Cyphers, Reyna Marcos. Verna Jandiroba, I think, is a very, very good win that's going to age well. Nina Nunes, I mean, I'd say probably 70% of those names that I rattled off are low-level women's MMA, whereas Marina Rodriguez has faced a better competition.
I mean, to me, the big question, Mackenzie Dern, is how much has she evolved in the stand-up game? I was listening to the interview she gave to the media earlier this week where she essentially just lays it out there that all she is doing is working on her striking, which, she basically kind of essentially, it sounds like she's only working on the grappling 1, maybe 2 days a week. You understand that she's trying to get her striking to match up to her grappling level, but maybe we see, for what we see Mackenzie Dern to this point, it's that overhand right that she's going to constantly throw. And, one of the more interesting things I thought she mentioned was the fact of she's really been able to be very aggressive and throw things out there on the feet because of the level of competition that she's gone up against. And she admitted, I can't do that in this fight. I'm going up against a high level striker.
Yeah, I mean, she could get picked apart, right? Like she tries to throw certain wild combinations. And I think a fighter of the striking caliber of Marina Rodriguez can definitely, evade, pull back, and counter. That's why I do have exposure to Marina Rodriguez. And the one thing that I wish we heard, which you can't always buy into what fighters are saying to the media because a lot of us we're secretive. We don't want to lay out our game plan all the time. I mean, if we were completely, let's say, just putting all our chips on the table, you know that their coaching staff is listening. That your opponent's listening. I wish Mackenzie Dern was focusing significantly on her wrestling. Like if she could just get her wrestling up, to a Carla Esparza level, which will happen over time, right?
Yeah.
Now you're talking about combining top level wrestling with dominant jiu-jitsu. You're going to destroy everybody. Yes, you need to have striking, but I feel like that wrestling is what we really need to blend it all together better. So, I mean, I don't really value so much what people say, as far as game plans and all that stuff, just because I know how it is.
I have had fighters who I've interviewed their opponent before them and the interview started coming out. They're like, oh yeah, I watched that interview. Oh yeah, I watched it.
Yeah.
Look, they're trying to find an angle. Like, hey, did that? I mean, like, look, I'm very aware of these interviews. I never go into expecting that the fighter is going to tell you. It's a very rare occurrence where a fighter will say, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. But usually the opponent already knows that. They know what's coming. It's like if you're fighting Habib and Magomedov, you know what's coming. Habib doesn't have to tell you what the game plan is. You know what the game plan is. He's trying to take you to the ground.
Right, exactly. It's just, can you stop it? And, that's why I wish we had Mackenzie Dern really just refining her wrestling. But hey, we'll have to see. I think she does have some unorthodox takedowns as well. I'm interested in the fight. I think that leaving salary on the table, you have to do it. T Strack in chat asking, should should I leave $1,000 plus on the table? I did, not for every lineup, but I think I left like up to $2,000 on the table for some of my lineups. But if you really start to leave more on the table, you really have to think that a lot of these underdogs come through, and probably 3 of them need to come through in order to leave a ton of salary. And which 3 do it, or can 3 even do it? I don't know. It starts to become a stretch.
No question about it. Of course, this is the Awesemo MMA Live for Lock Show. We're here to get you ready for UFC Vegas number 39, which, by the way, will start in just under 90 minutes from now from the UFC Apex there in Las Vegas. Of course, we are sponsored by PrizePicks. They are a daily prop-based contest. You got to check them out over there. I was checking them out this morning, looking at some of those UFC prop bets that there were some that definitely stuck out to me. Of course, so you sign up, use the promo code Awesemo for $100 first match deposit bonus. Of course, you use our free NFL and MLB player props tool to help you make your best selections for those. And of course, when I was looking over there, Pete, I was looking at so they got a category fight time. So there was two that stuck out to me. Steve Garcia, 7.5 minutes. Alexander Romanov, 6.5 minutes. Now, I know you want Romanov to get to the second round. I kind of like the under on both of these.
Yeah, I like the under on the Steve Garcia side. Now, I saw minus money for Romanov inside round 1, and I was like, okay, that makes a ton of sense. Round 2 is like plus 300 on the book that I was at, and I was like, I'm giving it a shot. I need Jaron Vandera just to be tough enough to survive 1 round and then get steamrolled in the second. And I think that can come through. So the Garcia is definitely under. The Romanov is a little tricky. I mean, does Romanov get him out of there a minute and a half into the second round, or does it happen in the first? I think the chalky play would probably be under. But I'm interested in PrizePicks. I think that if you guys haven't played on that platform, it's a real cool platform. You get to have a ton of different combinations to win some money and look at different avenues of success. Definitely recommend checking it out.
You know, we're all about Takedown City here. They got a takedowns category.
They don't want that. I'm telling you, I love it.
Romanov, 2.5. Damon Jackson, 2.5.
Yeah.
Lupe Godinez, 2.5.
So the Godinez one's weird because she has some good slams and takedowns in her arsenal. I like the Romanov and I like the Damon Jackson both to go over. The Godinez one I might leave out. I might just do 2. Unless you have a feel for that fight. I think that one could be a tricky one that could definitely ruin your parlay.
Godinez, I would probably go under 2.5. I think she tries to keep the fight on the feet.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, though, because Juarez is good on the feet. And Godinez, last fight, she did land 3 takedowns against Jessica Penne. That one, I might just avoid it, man. I'm telling you, I'd probably go the Romanov and Damon Jackson.
But it's a great platform over there, PrizePicks.
Oh, yeah.
You got to check them out. If you've not checked them out before, of course, be sure to use that promo code Awesemo when you sign up over there. So be sure to check them out. Let's get some more questions here. Gutierrez or Garcia? I prefer the Garcia route.
Gutierrez.
Here's the question, though, on Gutierrez. If he doesn't get a finish and his decision win, can he put enough volume out there to bring the type of score you want at a fighter at 8,900?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I was pulling up his box scores and 2 decision wins, 65-58, a second round TKO over Morales, 114, draw 40, win over Ewell, 75. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a very easy answer, and it is go the Steve Garcia route. Chris Gutierrez will probably be a way to get different rostering him because given his box scores and just his lack of volume at times, I think that the ceiling is less on him than it is Steve Garcia, who can definitely get Ontiveros out of there within 2 rounds.
Godinez or Nikolai on DraftKings?
It's a good one. I do like Nicolau. I like the fact that he can push a pace in all areas. He can get offensive takedowns. He's probably going to box Tim Elliott up. And in addition to that, he has a sneaky submission game where Tim Elliott often finds himself stuck in submissions. If you look, Tim Elliott has, been quick to tap at times when he's stuck, and also his fatigue his fatigue level seems to, it's inconsistent camp to camp. And I don't know when the going gets tough, how much Tim Elliott could really push through that stuff at this point of his career. So I will go Nicolau. I think that Godinez that fight's probably going the distance, and I think it's evenly matched. So I'm a little intrigued with that matchup. So I'd go with Nicolau and GPPs.
Best fights you don't think go the distance, and how long do you think the main event goes? To me, the fights I think that don't go the distance: Romanov, Vandera, Garcia, Ontiveros. I think Dern Rodriguez goes longer than people expect. I think it goes more than 2.5 rounds.
I feel like it's going to as well. Yeah, man, I love this card from a GPP perspective. The Damon Jackson, Charles Rosa, I mean, that's interesting because Damon Jackson doesn't tend to go the distance at all. He either, submits people or finishes people or finds himself getting finished. That one's a sneaky one for GPPs that I feel, in the mid-range, Damon Jackson could be lost in the shuffle. Charles Rosa, inconsistent fight to fight, tends to accept positions and be a little too complacent off of his back, which can lose him rounds. He'll roll for leg lock. So I am nervous about a leg lock today, Jason, but I am favoring Damon Jackson slightly.
In a 20 lineup max on FanDuel, would you play Charles Rosa?
Yeah, on FanDuel because you're going to have to stuff takedowns. I think Damon Jackson's going to want to close the distance and mimic that blueprint laid out from Derek Minner and also Bryce Mitchell. Get on top, be heavy on top, and just maintain position, throw some good ground and pound, and possibly work towards a submission. But good luck trying to submit Charles Rosa.
Can Agapova score enough in a win on FanDuel, or is Elliott a safer play even if he loses? I would say Elliott's a safer play. It's too many. When you see a fighter moving gym to gym to gym, getting kicked out of one gym, issues away from it, too many questions for me.
Yeah, I mean, tons of questions, and it's not like she's fighting a low-level fighter. I think Sabina Mazo is pretty damn good. I think Mazo's really good. Mazo can get takedowns if she needs to. It's not really what she's accustomed to doing, but she can. And I think her kickboxing. I think I had a dream, or I fell asleep watching tape last night of her head kicking Agapova, slightly reminiscent to her previous bout. But yeah, I wouldn't go Agapova in that one. I'd probably go Elliott, given his safe floor.
Damon Jackson or Lupe Godinez in a GPP?
I'm torn on that, but I mean, for me, my exposure, I went to Damon Jackson. I think that there could be more control time. I think there could be tons of points given the scrambling nature of both of these guys. And I went to Damon Jackson a little bit more than I did Godinez. Godinez, I don't know, man. She lost to Jessica Penne, yes, somewhat of a washed veteran. And I don't know. I see that fight being a little closer than what a lot of people do.
Is stacking Gooden and Brown a safe play on FanDuel? It's an interesting question there, Pete, because, we talked about this on Thursday of who has the wrestling advantage. I would probably give a slight lean to Jared Gooden, but I don't. The question you now have with the missing weight, was he looking for a competitive advantage and potentially maybe he wants to go the takedown route?
I mean, we mentioned it on Thursday. I said to you, I posed the question. I said, who would you give the wrestling advantage to in this fight? Because I feel like it's very, very close. And you said, I think I would side with Jared Gooden. And I think I would agree with you. I think that he's pretty powerful. He has landed some takedowns. And I think that if he stays on the outside, the reach is pretty similar between the two. But Randy Brown fights like a long fighter. And a lot of fighters don't fight like a long fighter. And I think Gooden's lack of head movement, he'll have to close that distance, get inside, and possibly work towards taking it to the mat sooner than often.
Next up, we got, it says Nikolai on PrizePicks is at 54.5 significant strikes. You guys think the over? I'd prefer the over than the under to that one.
Yeah, I like the over on that, right? Like,
because you think it's going to go 15 minutes.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Let's see. Scored 55 against Manel Kopp, 87 against Luis Smolka. It's just, will he have time to throw that many strikes with Tim Elliott possibly, not possibly, trying to take him to the mat? That's the big question. I think his takedown defense is pretty damn good. So I will say yes, over.
Is there a fighter we're not talking about?
Yeah, there always is, right? Who the hell
Is it Jared? Is it Jared Vandera? As much as we both love Romanov.
Stop. I mean, yes. Okay, let's make a case because on 9 fights, we have to make a case for everybody. Jared Vandera, how's he get it done? Weather the early storm, take Romanov into deep water, stuff some takedowns, possibly put Romanov on his back, but good luck doing that. Juan Espino did that. And, big man Romanov did not like that at all. And it really zapped his energy. And in the 3rd round, it looked like he was live to getting finished. I think that's what, given Vandera's wrestling background, punish him when he's exhausted, get Romanov out of there. Romanov in his amateur career or early professional career, amateur career, has actually been TKO'd. So it's possible. I think it's very, very unlikely, though.
To me, it's about just like what you said there. When that early storm, we saw in the Espino fight, that gas tank was not there in the 3rd round. If Jared Vandera can get this to the 3rd round, that is the case. But I don't see it happening. Like Ontiveros, there's obviously some chin questions there that we've seen in his fights.
A lot of questions, Jason. A lot of questions, not just chin questions.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, I think the fighters I would say we're probably not talking a ton about. I would say Ontiveros. I would say Lupi Godinez at 8,600. Charles Rosa at 7,800, Vandera at 7,000. I think in terms of all the other fighters, we've kind of really just, really hammered on, why you could or could not play that fighter.
Yeah. I think that Felipe Colares, very, very tough. When you lose a decision to Montel Jackson and Montel Jackson hits you with everything and destroys you at times and you survive that. And even against De Freitas, you show some signs of offensive production. You have my attention. Gutierrez, given his struggles with defending some takedowns, Cody Dern in that fight really kind of, sticks out in my mind. There's a path. There is a path, but I think Gutierrez's, management of distance will get him through this fight. I think that we're probably not talking about Charles Rosa, who scored 85 in his previous win against Justin James. I'm not really convinced about Damon Jackson, but I've also been burned a lot by Charles Rosa. I think that, given the fact that he is a wrestler with some background in wrestling, he doesn't really show sometimes, Jason, where he gets taken down almost at will, and then he accepts the position. I've spoken about it. I don't think that he's live for a KO. I think that would really, really shock me. But Damon Jackson has been finished quite often in his career. It would be getting a sneaky submission is where I could see him possibly coming through here or stealing a decision over a fatigue in Jackson. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's tough. We've hit on basically everybody on this card. It's just a matter of getting the proper combination down.
No question about it. Of course, one of the things that Pete and I love to see after the fights is those screenshots. Of course, we want to be rocking that Awesemo avatar. You can get that over awesemo.com/avatar. Place in the top 3 of a contest with over 5,000 contestants. Tweet your wins to @Awesemo HOF. And you win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Only 1 free month can be awarded to a user per calendar year. You see some of those great wins we've seen over there on the NFL Showdown contest from Thursday night. Whoo, man, that is a nice win over there. So you see those right there on the screen. Richmond going in there with the big win over there as well. Also, you see from last Sunday's Carlos going in there with his lineup that he had in there in terms of his picks with Tyler Henneke as his MVP captain over there on DraftKings. And of course, you see over there what he was able to do over there. And I know Pete's like that king of that showdown. I know you're always big in those showdown contests. So we always love seeing those winning lineups over there. Of course, be sure to be rocking that Awesemo avatar. Go to awesemo.com/avatar. But and like as you mentioned today, Pete, in terms of MMA, today's gonna be a Chop City kind of day.
Yeah, Jason, I placed in the bottom 3 in a contest the other day. Do I get anything? Some days I like that, right? You get good bounces. I love seeing the screenshots of people. I love seeing just the team succeed, seeing that Awesemo avatar. It's pretty crazy. I mean, you got Neil taking down huge contests. Alex, as always, just the team in general and everybody that listens. We appreciate you guys a lot. Good luck on a day like today. I think it's going to be very, very weird. If you are able to come up with a combination to get unique, I'll be very impressed. I will be very, very impressed because I think it's going to be extremely difficult today.
Yeah. Sola says we're talking to taking him Romanov via round 1. I like that Romanov via TKO KO prop. I saw a little earlier, plus 150. Kind of surprised it was a little plus money on that one.
Well, because I've seen Jared Vanderaa get submitted. And when Romanov gets tired, he stops throwing punches and he starts like putting his forearm in people's necks and grabbing their wrists and trying to do Kimuras and key locks and all that stuff. Romanov, round 2, plus money. We're getting it today. We are just going to pray that we get it because there's plus money on Romanov round 2, and that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I know why you're hoping for that as well. Colares or Juarez on a DraftKings single entry.
I
think both those fights are going 15 minutes.
Juarez is a wild card, right? Yeah. Haven't seen her at this level. She was training for a Contender Series fight.
Has fought notable competition.
I'd probably say the upside is more for Colares, but the safer option is Juarez.
Yeah. True, false. Romanov scores 100 points.
Get the hell out of more. He's getting 100. If Romanov doesn't get 100 points, I think Romanov. I don't know. This is a softball matchup, in my opinion. Vanderaa is very tough, but struggles with wrestlers, struggles with getting controlled from top position, eats tons of shots. Sergey Spivak's a damn good fighter, but I think Romanov can see that blueprint and say, hey, I can do that even better or the same. So, yeah, Romanov's getting over 100.
And a smaller cage benefits Romanov as well.
Yeah, you can't run from King Kong.
No.
No,
you're right on that one. Who is most likely to get a KO today? Maybe earlier Romanov, but other than that, who Garcia I think is the next biggest favorite in terms of a KO, just in terms of that. You probably got to look at the co-main event as well.
Yeah, agreed. I would agree with that. I think Garcia is the easiest KO prop. Did a nice little parlay. Talked about Romanov round 2. I like Steve Garcia via KO TKO. I think that's going to happen. Romanov looks soft. Kevin Diaz says, yeah, they're heavyweights. They all look soft, or the large majority of them do.
Yeah. Romanov is cutting to get to 265.
Yeah. When I watched the weigh-ins and I see Jared Vanderaa. I'm like, okay, he's 260, whatever. Then I see Romanov 265. I look at him and I say, my God, he must be like 290. Easy. Yeah. He's humongous. Yeah. He is a monster. So I think a guy in Jared Vanderaa, if he gets taken down, it's a wrap.
Yeah, it's just the question, like we mentioned about PrizePicks a little earlier, that number of 2.5 takedowns for Romanov is if he gets a fight to the ground early, does he only need 1 takedown?
I like it more. I think Vanderaa is going to stand up, get taken down. Stand up, get taken down. Here we go. Points galore. Jason, we got 300 people checking us out. Guys, we appreciate you a lot. We want you to win money on a choppy day like today. Hit that like button for us. Get us over 100. And, put your questions in chat. We got a little bit more time.
We got about a little more than 5 minutes here left in the show. Of course, coming up after us at 1:30 will be NFL on the Contrary. I'll get you ready for tomorrow's NFL slate. I'll be back later on today, 5 o'clock for the NASCAR strategy show. Of course, be sure to subscribe also right here on YouTube so it comes up in your subscription feed. Hit that notification bell so you know when a new show is live here on the channel. Of course, also be sure to check out the free premium data and tools we have over Awesemo.com today, which are Week 5 NFL projections, MLB player rankings, and UFC pro plays. I will tell you, if you're looking at the Bucks Dolphins game, it's probably going to be a hot one here in Tampa tomorrow. Probably going to be a hot one here in Tampa. I was outside a little earlier, Pete. It's a little hot outside.
You guys are lucky down there.
I too. Last week up in New England, I thought it'd be a little chillier than it was, man. It wasn't. Had the hoodie on. I was like, I got to take the hoodie off. It is too hot.
I don't know, but that's how it is up here, right? Day to day, it's just completely different. Like the day before, I told you it touched 38 degrees or something like that. It was insane. And then you came up, I think it was like 50. So, I mean, it was solid. It was okay, but that's New England for you.
Miles says, Jared Good at MVP on FanDuel. Ooh, that is.
If a fighter can get a knockout or a finish, their upside in that MVP spot is amazing, right? And Gooden has that capability. So I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all.
How much money are you willing to leave on the table on FanDuel? When I was developing FanDuel rosters, it was really tough for me to leave money on the table. Especially when you're putting in Romanoff at $23, it really becomes tough. And especially because over on FanDuel, you don't have a salary relief in terms of the main event like we have over on DraftKings at 82 and 800. It's 20 and 18. So there's no salary relief over there in terms of FanDuel. But it was a struggle for me I always want to try to leave money on the table to try to help differentiate myself from the field, but it's really tough on FanDuel today.
Yeah, FanDuel's tough in general. That's your platform. It's tough to leave salary over there, but I'll tell you what, some cheap dogs on FanDuel could definitely come through with elevated totals. So if you could find a combination that works over there, definitely target it.
Someone asked about who could break the slate today. Obviously you could look at some underdogs here, but if I'm going to look at a favorite, Sabina Mazo.
She could, right? I mean, she has takedown ability. She is probably the better striker. She's not as raw. She is just better overall than Agapova. Agapova brings pace and aggressiveness, which I think could, be to her detriment. A fighter that's an underdog that could break this slate. I think it's a tie between Jared Vanderaa and Charlie Ontiveros. So if you want to blindly play those guys, you're going to have leverage on the field, but the likelihood of them coming through, pretty minimal.
And when you're talking about a potential leverage play, someone who could break the slate a little bit, Marina Rodriguez. I mean, I look at that ownership and I'm just like, I want to be higher than the field of what we're seeing in terms of ownership.
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair.
Let's see here. Kevin, I'm guessing this is in relation to Mazo saying, is she going to go for takedowns? I don't necessarily, I think she would prefer to keep it on the feet, but I think the takedown potential is there.
Listen, if somebody comes charging at you like a bull and they start throwing 1-2s and wild punches, it's very easy to change levels and plant them on their backside. And I can see that happening where her aggressiveness is used against her. Like, oh, okay, well, you're wild and crazy, and I'm just going to either pick you apart from the outside or punish you with a takedown when you cross that line.
I mentioned about some prop bets that stuck out to me here. I'll mention two from the main event. Mackenzie Dern via submission. If you're playing across the field, looking at the board, there are some spots that do have her plus 100. She is minus money in some other spots. Maria Rodriguez via decision plus 450.
Yeah,
Randy Brown via TKO KO plus 200. I mentioned about the Romanov TKO KO prop at plus 150. Damon Jackson, I found him as high as plus 140 via decision.
Yeah, I think that the Damon Jackson via decision's sneaky. The Marina Rodriguez, some props I was getting behind as parlay pieces. I talked about Steve Garcia via KO, TKO, Romanov. Round 2 will be greasy, but could come through for us. I like Sabina Mazo. I like Mateus Nicolau money line. I overall it's an ugly card, but you can pick your spots and definitely come through.
It's still amazing to me that Romanov is not on the main card.
They might be punishing him for kind of just screwing up. You know what I mean? Like you took a win when it really wasn't a win. But I mean, they also need a notable name on the prelims. Like they do. They need a guy to have some excitement. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in terms of that. Of course, if you got any last minute questions, you can line those up there right now in chat. Of course, we got an hour before lock is going to hit, so you still have plenty of time to, if you want to change up your lineups in terms of some of the things that we have said here. I'll just mention my core plays. It starts with Romanov, and then it kind of goes into Garcia, Mazo. And then it's one of the two in the main event. I want to have a good amount of Dern. I want to have a good amount of Maria Rodriguez.
Yeah. I think that it's kind of criminal that the underdog in the main event's not getting enough exposure. And it goes to show you what the hype machine can do. It can really just, attract attention in one direction and take you away from value that Marina Rodriguez has. Yeah, I think she's going to lose, but the value is crazy given her salary and what we're seeing for ownership.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things of you look at Marina Rodriguez. I just think people are look. I did pick her to win, but it's all contingent on her being able to keep this fight on the feet. If Dern can get this fight to the ground, yes, Dern should be able to win this fight. But I just think in terms of a kind of a leverage spot, whether we're talking about DraftKings or FanDuel, Maria Rodriguez, and you mentioned on the FanDuel side of the equation, Maria Rodriguez is probably a really good play over there.
Yeah, she's a damn good play over there.
So that is good. Do it. We'll mention Ryan says, can you stack the main event today?
Yes.
Yes, you can. But I think it's going to be in terms of probably a chalky stack in terms of fight here today. So maybe you want to look somewhere else. But look, I don't mind going there. But that is going to do it for this edition of Live Before Lock. I will be on Live Before Lock next Saturday. However, I will not be on the strategy show on Thursday. Josh Engelman will be filling in for me because I will be in Philadelphia for Bucks Eagles Thursday Night Football. So I'll be inside Lincoln Financial Field, so I won't be able to do the strategy show with Pete, but Josh will be filling in for me. So be sure to check those guys out on Thursday for the strategy show. Pete, anything else you want to mention, man?
Nah, we're good. Appreciate you guys checking us out. Hit that like button before you head out. Check us out next week. And if you win money on a choppy day like today, screenshot it, tag us, show some love. We appreciate you guys a lot.
Of course, coming up in 30 minutes, we NFL on the contrary with Lawfully Alex and TJ. Then we got the NFL strategy show, tournament strategy with Greg and Neil. Then at 4 o'clock, it's the PrizePicks NFL show. And then at 5 o'clock, it'll be the NASCAR strategy show with myself and Phil. So let's go do it. Good luck to everyone today. I will talk to you later on today for the NASCAR strategy show and next Saturday on Live Before Lock. Have a good day, everybody.